Driven Racing. Select your track. Select your car. Racers, start your engine.
Here we have three of the most exciting hot hatches in Malaysia. Between these three cars, we have almost 900 horsepower and well over 1,000 Newton meters of torque. So this is going to be a visceral experience. So hook up your headphones, turn up the volume, and hold on to your seats. You're watching Driven, powered by the new Petronas Premix 95 with Pro Drive. So cue the music. So clearly the star of the show is the brand new Renault Megane RS. It's fresh from its Malaysian launch and is a successor to one of the best front-wheel drive hot hatches of all time.
But times have changed, my friend. While Renault was resting on its laurels, Honda has brought back the legendary Civic Type R, and it's a different machine altogether. It's no longer a high-revving VTEC, it's a turbocharged monster now, but it is every bit a Civic Type R as its iconic predecessors.
But if you want to talk about hot hatches, guys, you have to bring out the Volkswagen Golf. After all, it was this very model that brought this whole phenomenon to life some 40 years ago when it was introduced. And right here, I have brought along with me the most powerful, the most potent Golf that you can buy in Malaysia, and that is the Golf R. Actually, side note, we really wanted to make this an all-manual affair, but unfortunately the Hyundai i30N has not been launched in Malaysia just yet, so I guess that's that.
And the Peugeot 308 GTI, it's available on sale here in Malaysia, but we cannot secure it for the shootout because they're all sold out.
So yeah, that's a bit of a shame, but never mind, because here we have three brilliant hot hatches in their own right. To start with, we have the new Renault Megane RS 280 Cup, which has huge shoes to fill. The last two cars revolutionized the hot hatch market, and this one aims to do the same thing again. Despite its rather exotic looks and heritage, it is the most affordable car here, starting at just under 280,000 ringgit for the 6-speed manual version. If you want the dual clutch option, that is an extra 20,000 ringgit, but I don't think you should go for that. What you should definitely do, however, is spend the extra 8,000 ringgit for either one of the signature colors, either liquid yellow or this gorgeous orange tonic.
The Honda Civic Type R only comes in one color option, which is Championship White. At 330,000 ringgit, it is the most expensive Honda by far, and it's 3 times the price of a base Civic. It's also a hatch rather than a sedan, and it's not made in Japan or in Malaysia, but it is made in the home of hot hatches, the United Kingdom. And while the regular sedan is named as the Civic FC, this one has its own unique codename, the FK8R.
If it wasn't for the original Golf GTI, none of these cars would even exist today. This latest Mach 7.5 Golf R takes the GTI formula and tunes it up to 11. At 305,000 ringgit, it might not look like it, but this is a serious machine. Every bit as capable as the other two hotshots.
Now this Civic Type R is powered by a 2-litre turbocharged engine. It makes 310 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque. Now, horsepower wise, it's about 10 horsepower lower than the cars that are sold in Europe. They get 320 horsepower. Now the entire setup, the engine, the gearbox, everything just makes the car sound so good and it's very nice to drive. The clutch is positioned very well. It's not too high, it's comfortable to use. In terms of the gear stick, well, that's perfect. It's very sharp, very precise, very mechanical, very straight to the point. It also comes with an automatic rev match feature, so it makes it easier for you to do your heel and toe. But of course, I would prefer to do it manually, so mine is turned off. And if there's any car in the world that will make you come back to driving manual, this would be it. The engine, it's so free revving, it makes you want to change gears all the way at the red line. What an engine, what a gearbox, what a car. Ah!
For the first time in a Megane RS, it gets a brand new engine, a smaller 1.8 litre turbo. And despite the smaller displacement, it makes more power and torque than even the most potent version of the old car. 280 horsepower and 390 Newton meters of torque. Those are serious numbers for a 1.8 litre engine, and it's a strong one. Just listen to it go. Woo! Get that? We're well over 100 now. But while there's no denying that this is indeed an extremely powerful engine, there seems to be a little bit of a hesitancy near the top end. It almost feels rough up there that you end up shifting early most of the time, much earlier than you probably should. Compared to the Civic Type R and even Renault's own old 2-litre engine, this is slightly disappointing. But that doesn't mean that this is a slow car, because like I said, it's a seriously quick one. All you have to do is pick the right gear and just watch it go. But damn that synthesized voice. I mean, this is still, I think, more tuneful than the Civic Type R's. That car is mostly just noise and nothing else. But I would still prefer something more natural, something more growly, with a bit more kick. Another issue I have is the clutch pedal, which frankly is just plain stupid. I don't know what it is with the Frenchies, but they always get the driving positions all wrong. See, the clutch pedal is positioned a good 2 inches higher than the brake pedal. So to change gears, I have to literally lift up my left foot to do it. It's fine on everyday driving, but here on the track, when you're doing it so often, it gets really tiring, really annoying, really quickly. And then there's the shift action itself, which is just plainly not very good. I mean, the throw is very short, which is fine, but it just feels a little bit notchy, like there's not enough finesse engineered into it. It's okay by itself, but next to the Civic Type R's, which to be honest is one of the best in the world, it feels a little bit disappointing in comparison. But at least there is still a 6-speed manual option, unlike the DCT only Clio RS. In a world where manual gearboxes are getting extinct by the minute, I'm thankful that there is still a stick shift option with this car. I mean, fast cars are everywhere these days, but a car that lets you control how you go fast, those are the special ones.
Under the bonnet of the Golf R is the venerable EA888 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It makes 290 horsepower and 380 Newton meters of torque. It's actually the down-tuned version, because in some markets you get the full-fat 300 horsepower or 310 and 400 Newton meters of torque. I'm probably overstating that, but man, this car is plenty fast. I really have no complaints with this engine because it's so willing to rev to the red line, and it's so intoxicating to do it. I could do this all day. And you know what makes it better? The 7-speed dual clutch transmission. This guy is so quick. It completely negates the fact that I absolutely adore a manual transmission. So I'm the kind of guy that likes my performance cars to come with a manual transmission, right? When I was told that I was going to get an automatic performance car instead of a manual one. I was a little bit upset, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. As soon as I heard that it was the Golf R, my face says it all, man. I'm completely and utterly happy. And it's snappy, the ratios are very beautifully spread out. You get power whenever you want it, like so, it's crazy. And it's so quick, you know, and every time you upshift and you downshift, you get that iconic DSG pop, that DSG fart, we call it. Oh, look at that. Oh, beautiful. It's so quick, it's so good. And last but not least, if you're in manual mode, it's not going to want to upshift or downshift on its own. You assume full control, and to me, I think it all makes up for the lack of a manual transmission. One advantage the Golf R has over the other two cars is 4Motion all-wheel drive with the company's latest version or latest generation Haldex differential. This gives the car a heck ton of grip, making it feel like mini version of the Nissan GTR, which is known and revered by many as the traction monster. Absolutely crazy, I love it. But that also means that the Golf R is a little bit more prone to understeer, especially when you want to compare to the other three. And it is most evident in tight hairpins such as this. But man, when you're in faster corners, it corners like it's on rails. So if you make a rookie mistake like this, like you're late into the corner and you're gassing the throttle a little bit too early, the system, the all-wheel drive system, is going to help save you, but you know, you're going to end up looking like Max Verstappen on the way out, and depending on which side you're on, it could be a good or bad thing. I simply love the process, and oh gosh. What about braking? Well, there's no big B's here, no big Brembos to help save the day, but it's good enough because under hard braking, the car hunkers down instead of, you know, diving forward. So there's no dive to throw you off your jive.
So the Megane has the quickest steering, and this is both in terms of response and turn in. So if you've driven the latest Type R before, I'm saying this is even quicker still, so you can imagine just how fast this steering is. Partly this is because it has something called four-wheel steering, which used to be popular among Japanese sports cars back in the 90s. It has since gone extinct, but recently it's sort of making a comeback with high-end Porsches and whatnot. This, however, is the very first hot hatch to get this trick new feature. And shall I say, it is absolutely sublime. So with four-wheel steering, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction of the front wheels. So you feel like the car is somewhat pivoting around you, sort of like helping you turn around sharp corners. To be frank, this will be a little bit weird at first, but once you get used to it, this is an absolute blast to drive in a track like this. Steering feel can be a little bit better still, I think, but if you put full trust in the system, full faith in it, this car will reward you like nothing else out there. The more you push, the more it gives back, and the grip here is relentless. The way this car resists torques here and understeer is just simply amazing. So this car is fitted with something called the Cup chassis. This is a cost option in most other markets, but Renault Malaysia sort of looked at its previous RS customer base, and looking at how they were mostly hardcore driving enthusiasts, they've made the Cup chassis a standard fit on all local cars. This adds on stiffer dampers all around and an LSD, and the dampers themselves, Renault claims, are very advanced items taken from the world of rallying. It has something called hydraulic compression stops. Looking at how Renault explains how this system works, I have a feeling they've been watching too many Pit My Ride reruns. They've sort of gone, so I heard you like dampers, so I've put a damper in your damper. What? But as good as it is, this is the only car here without an adjustable suspension system. So even though it has a 10% stiffer springs compared to the non-Cup version, it's still not anywhere near as hardcore, as focused as the Civic Type R in its top R Plus mode. Call me a cynic, but I think this has something to do with the dreaded middle child syndrome. See, Renault had planned from the very start to have a much more hardcore RS trophy version, so this one had to be held back a little bit. Not that it's not good, this car is fantastic, but I still think it could have been just a little bit better.
Now, handling wise, the Civic Type R is king. It really feels like you're driving a race car, and I should know because I race an EK9 Civic Type R. Now, the motorsport heritage is very strong. The gearbox is beautiful. The engine, the power is very, very smooth. The steering is very sharp. Turns in very well. Overall, it's a beautiful car. Now, this is a new age hot hatch with turbos, electronics, but I can guarantee you that it's old school fun. Now, compared to the regular Civic, the springs are stiffer, and quite a lot. It's stiffer by about 100%. It's really a car that is meant for the track. The suspension is set up nicely. It is well damped. It has a very communicative chassis. I'm sure I'm having a lot more fun than Matt in his automatic Golf. He should be calling me soon for a drag race. Trust me.
Hey yo guys, are we gonna drive around the track all day or what? I mean, come on now, we've got a long ass straight down here. Let's do a drag race or something.
Why, Ahmed? DSG boring, is it? Not having fun out there?
Jom ah, I nak menang ni. I've got three very big advantages over the other two. Number one being all-wheel drive, which means I get to channel power down earlier and more efficiently. Number two, I've got DSG, which means I'll be able to shift gears quicker than the other two. And lastly, I've got launch control.
Right about now, Matt will be going on and on about his launch control, all-wheel drive and whatnot, but that is pretty much a foregone conclusion. What's more important is this car against the Civic Type R. Manual versus manual. Mano a mano.
I think the Golf R will win because it has all-wheel drive, so power can be transmitted to the road right away. But compared to the Megane, we have 30 horsepower more, so I'm quite confident. Plus, Hafriz is not so good with the sticks. You know.
So I'll have a little bit less power compared to the Honda, but my bigger difference is this silly Renault race graphics. I mean, just look at that rev counter. I'll have no clue how many revs I'm pulling before I drop the clutch. Now this is gonna take some guesswork.
Hey, what is all this excuses I'm hearing, huh? Let's go lah, I can't wait to kick your butts, guys. Yeah. Oh, I'm winning by a mile here.
Got him? No! No! Woo! Little bit.
Golf R drag race for days. You don't want to mess with this at the lights, boys. We repeated the drag race many times because both Hafriz and Harve refused to end up last. What's consistent was the Golf R, winning every single race by a long way, every single time. We also measured the 0 to 100 times for these cars, and the Golf R was obviously the quickest, taking just 5.1 seconds against the clock. Both the Civic Type R and Renault, well, their times fluctuated a lot, but at the end of the day, it was the Honda that clocked a slightly faster time of 6.1 seconds versus the Megane's time of 6.2 seconds. Hey, should I have some ballast in my car? Because I was quite far ahead, no?
But speed isn't just about going fast in a straight line. And since we're on the track, we decided to find out which one of these three is the absolute fastest car. And for that, we're fielding in our very own racing driver, the 2018 MSF Enduro Cup champion and the current championship leader, Harve Singh himself. We like to think of him as our very own flying Singh, as he puts the Singh in racing.
When pushed hard, all three cars behave extremely differently. The Civic Type R wowed me the most with its incredible front end, carrying the highest speeds through the corners, fast or slow. The Megane RS felt just as quick, if not even quicker through the tight turns. Its four-wheel steering is a big help here, as you need less steering inputs through the turns. It also has a livelier chassis, allowing you to adjust your lines with the throttle. The Golf R, being a DSG car, allowed me to focus more on my braking points and steering input. But being a heavier car overall and with more understeer through corners, it felt the least agile out there. Still, with all-wheel drive, I could power out far earlier in the corners, and on the straight, it was by far the quickest, a full 10 km per hour faster than the rest. But purely against the clock, the Civic Type R proved to be the quickest overall just by being faster in the tight sections. The Megane too was faster through the turns, but the Golf's straight line advantage made it second quickest overall, leaving the Renault a very close third. Now at first look, you know this car means business. It's like a racing Gundam. We have the big wing at the back, flat wheel arches, we have 20-inch wheels, we have a killer body kit, we even have an air scoop, and that's not for the engine, it's for aerodynamics. Overall, this car is worthy of the red Honda badge. Just like the outside, the interior screams performance. You're definitely getting into a sports car. For example, you have a lot of red design elements and carbon fiber finish and so on. Even the seat belts are red. But now this car is based on the regular Civic. The hard plastics are still here, and even some of the buttons, they do feel a bit flimsy. But the most important part about this car is how you feel when you are driving it fast, right? So everything that relates to that is top-notch. For example, the steering wheel, the positioning of the pedals, how the seats support you, and most importantly, the gear lever. It's very sharp and precise. I've said it so many times, I'm saying it again. It's very nice to use. For example, if you compare with the Megane RS, that one feels a bit loose. This one is perfect. And just like the regular Civic, the rear cabin is spacious and it has a large boot. So this makes it the most practical car here.
The Megane RS is such a looker. Sure, it's not quite as aggressive as the old car because it's now a 5-door instead of a 3-door, but the aggression is all still there. From the low stance to the flat arches, both front and back, it legit looks like a touring car. And the best part of it all, it's all in the details, from the gorgeous wheels to the checkered flag fog lamps. This car doesn't need such big wings and scoops and vents and red lipstick all over the face to look good. It's a properly cohesive, sportive design all as a whole. It also helps that we only know the Megane as the RS here in Malaysia. There's no entry-level budget 1.4, 1.5 litre models that would dilute this look. Think about it, every time you see a Type R on the road, a real one or not, there's always going to be that 1 or 2 second where you doubt it. Is that a real one or a fake one, or is it a Tipu R? With this one, every time you see one, in this color especially, you know it's the real deal. After the big highs of this car's exterior, the interior of the Megane is a bit of a letdown. Because from here, I'm not sure whether I'm looking at the Koleos SUV interior or the Megane RS. Sure, there's a big screen in the middle, but there's also this huge bezel that goes around it. Sort of reminds me of old school TVs from say 10 to 15 years ago. And then there's build quality, where at the face of it, it feels really good. At the top half, it's all covered in plush plastics, but as soon as you tilt your head down, there's nasty, scratchy plastics everywhere. On the track, I've only been driving for about maybe 15-20 laps, and I've already bruised my left knee from knocking this hard plastic piece right there. But obviously, it's not all bad because this car does have quite a few redeeming cool features. The RS monitor here is really nice. It has a lap timer and an onboard measurement for 0 to 100 and whatnot. So that's a really nice thing to play with. And then there's the seats, which are fantastic. This car right here comes with the optional Recaro seats, but the ones you can buy in the showrooms come with the standard RS seats. But don't feel shortchanged because those seats to me are way more comfortable and just as supportive. As for the rear seats and boot, no surprises here. This is the least practical car in this group.
By now, you must be thinking that the Golf R is the least aggressive looking one of the bunch, and you're right. In fact, I think the Golf GTI with the red highlights looks a bit more sporty, but for you car guys, you might be able to tell that this is the real deal, just going by the number of R badges around the car, as well as the brake calipers and maybe even the 19-inch wheels. But if those things are still a little bit too nondescript for you, I guess all you have to do is just watch out for the quad exhausts at the back and listen to the way it sounds. Once you've got those things nailed down, well, I guess it's best not to mess with it at the red lights. In terms of the overall cabin, I think this is by far the best built one. It has the highest build quality and it is also the most technologically advanced. I mean, check this out. The fully digital instrument cluster is super clear and it surely doesn't look like it was designed by an overexcited 12-year-old. And this high-res screen in the middle looks so good, it makes the other two look like cheap toys. As for rear seats and boot space, it sits between the other two cars, which is really nothing to shout about here.
Did you bring the correct car? Because this looks more like a Golf R line than the actual Golf R.
Hey brother, you call yourself a car guy, you cannot tell that this is a Golf R? Ha, please lah, look at that.
I'm looking at it, it looks the same as the R line. This is the hot hatch, right? Where's the aggression? I don't see it, bro.
You know, some things in life are just better left understated. You don't have to stand out all the time.
And the problem with standing out is...
Anyway, the interior, it's boring and it's black. Nothing stands out.
It's boring and it's black. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, look at that. It's classy, it's understated, it's got just the right amount of sporty touch, and it's the complete opposite of what you have over there. I mean, look at this lah. There's so much rig going on. It's like you went to Kedai Abang and did all this for what, cheap?
Yeah. You know me, I love red, right? But this is just too much. The steering wheel is red, the seat is red, the seat belts are red. It doesn't work.
You're spending 330,000 on the performance car. It needs to stand out.
Excuse me, bro. I think you stand out enough on the outside. Just how many wings do you need? 1, 2, 3. It's too many.
Downforce.
Downforce, downforce. You look down here, the carbon fiber lah, the triple exhaust lah. So busy, man. What's that?
Bunyi sedap.
Well, at some point, I think that they just had to stop designing this thing, but they didn't. They continued on. Red line, fake vents. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, somehow on top of that, they do all this so elaborately, but they don't have reverse sensors and no reverse camera. It's 2019, yena de.
Because race car.
Okay, that's it. Next car. So the car looks nice and all that, but Hafriz, is this? It's plastic, dude.
That's right. It's light, it's cheap, it's good for performance.
There's the other thing, which is this.
Oh no.
Can you please explain to me what I'm looking at?
Yeah, it's eco-friendly, so you don't waste plastic. You save baby seals and such.
Yeah, but that is still a sea of mess.
No, I've saved like 1,000 plastic straws from not doing that.
This being a French car, I can assure you that the glove box is small. Close one eye.
Sacre bleu!
Yeah, it's in the name, bro. It's a glove box. You fit gloves.
Cup holders.
Yeah, what about it?
They don't look like they can fit cups.
You're not supposed to drink and drive.
Okay guys, shall we review the cars on the roads?
Do we really have to? Because this car's fantastic on the track here.
Yeah, I know Hafriz is not looking forward to it. He's not going to enjoy the ride very much. But a hatch is still a hatch. It needs to work on normal roads. So let's go.
As soon as we left the track, it was clear that we were leaving the Megane RS's comfort zone well behind. Well, quite literally actually. The cup chassis stiffer springs and dampers may have shined on the track, but out here with very typical Malaysian potholes and badly engineered roads, it feels rather stiff. a bit too stiff really. Don't get me wrong, this is still a lot more comfortable than the previous generation Meganes, but those were really uncompromising machines and they were mostly used for touge or track toys anyway, so the ride hardly mattered. This new one, however, was said to have been designed with everyday use in mind. But right here, right now, I'm thinking they've completely missed the mark. It doesn't help that this is the only car here without adaptive dampers. So whether you're out on the track or out here on the roads, it's always so stiff. The comfort mode over here, it acts more like a glorified eco mode. All it does is make the steering a little bit lighter and the throttle a little bit softer. The suspension always stays the same. I mean, Renault can go on and on about how the so-called hydraulic compression stops make the car feel a little bit softer on everyday use. But yeah, in a way it does, because it does make the car feel a little bit less harsh through big potholes or sharp bumps. But never does it feel settled. It's always so busy, you're just bouncing around everywhere. So as a hot hatch, the Renault is most definitely hot. But the hatch part, it doesn't do that quite so well. Yes, it's a little bit more comfortable than the old cars, but with the competition now being so well-rounded, this car's rather one-dimensional approach is badly exposed.
Now, comfort-wise, I know you would expect this car to be super stiff, especially comparing to the previous Type R. Now, that was really uncomfortable. That was like riding a skateboard. It was that bad. Now, with this car, you would expect it to be as bad or even worse, especially judging from how the car looks and the 20-inch wheels. But I'm very happy to say that with its dynamic chassis control in comfort mode, it is soft, it is comfortable, it feels like you're driving on cloud 9. I mean, not as comfortable as your regular road car, but for a Type R, this is very comfortable. Now, this is where I really think all the money and the development has gone into to produce something that is both very good on track and very comfortable on the road. I think if you even put the 17-inch wheels on this car, it could be that it's more comfortable than the regular Civic.
Adaptive suspension technology has progressed so much over the past few years, and the Golf R and Civic Type R are just two very shining examples of that. Comparatively speaking, the Golf R, and I say this with honesty, doesn't quite have the same magical feel of the Civic Type R, because the scope is not quite as wide, so to speak. It doesn't have the same highs and peaks of the Civic Type R, for example, and I think between normal and race drive modes, one can clearly tell the difference between damping levels. And in normal mode, you really don't expect the level of comfort that, you know, a hot hatch would be able to deliver. And in comfort mode, it just pushes that boundary even further. This really is a fast, engaging hot hatch that is perfectly usable for the daily drive. And I even dare say that it is perfect for family use. I mean, gone are the days of single-minded, track-bred race, whatever you want to call it, you know, those mega hatches don't exist anymore, as in, who buys a hot hatch just to hit the track? It's mind-boggling how flexible modern hot hatches get. And this makes me wonder, can it really get any better than it already is? So another trait that makes the Golf R the perfect all-rounder in this group is refinement. We did an internal test, we cruised at 110 kilometers per hour to record the average sound level for each car. And coming in first place is the Golf R with 71 decibels, followed by the Civic Type R with 72 decibels. And of course the Megane in third place with 74 decibels. Granted, these are not quiet cars per se when you're cruising, but again, you don't expect a hot hatch to be, you know, pin drop silent in the cabin, do you? Another thing that the Golf R does well is fuel efficiency. Now, granted, when buying a hot hatch, fuel efficiency is not up there in your list of priorities, but it's good to know anyway, right? So here are the figures. The Golf R managed 12 kilometers of range per liter of fuel used, followed by the Honda Civic Type R with 10.6 kilometers per liter. And the thirstiest car of the lot is the Renault Megane RS at 9.5 kilometers per liter.
So boys, we've obviously had a lot of fun on this track, so now it's time to choose which one's the best.
I think that is quite a subjective question to ask because it boils down to what you need. A weekend toy or an everyday car.
So a hot hatch is supposed to give you lots of fun when you drive it, right? And to me, this car ticks that box. It's very sharp. It's a very fun car to drive on the track. It has a brilliant gearbox and it can be as comfortable as the Golf R when you want it to be. So all things considered, this car has to be the winner.
Okay, fair enough. But look at that lah.
Yeah, you know what? As much as I hate to admit it, I agree with Harve. I mean, I do love the Megane RS, I do. It's a great car. It's so intoxicating to drive. It's so adjustable on the limit. And the four-wheel steering is so good. But even with all that, I still think the Honda is that little bit more special. I mean, the Megane RS, it's a good car on its own. But against the Honda, I think that car is that 5%, 10% better at every step of the way. It's shocking just how good that car is, really.
And I have to agree with Hafriz on this as well. Both cars are quite similar. The Megane is a great car, but the Civic is better. Consider it like this. The Megane is a straight A student. This gives you A+ all the time.
That is actually very well said from Harve. But I guess that leaves the Golf R then. Granted, it probably is not quite as fun as its manual rivals here. Out on the track is if you want to enjoy weekend driving. But as an everyday car, this little thing, the Mini GTR, it doesn't get any better than that because it's comfortable, it's powerful, and there's lots of traction. And remember the drag race earlier on, it was consistently the quickest runner of the lot and by a far margin. So based on that alone, I'm going to claim second overall for the Golf R. Is that okay?
Sounds fair?
Yep, fine. I'll give you that. But what if I change the question just a little bit? Which one of these cars would you buy yourself with your own money? Because for me, I don't care that the Megane RS is not the best car here. I'd still buy it because just look at it. I'm sold by the looks alone.
Of course you would. You're Hafriz Shah and everything about this car screams that. It's got color, design, character. If you know him, you know he loves that. But personally, I'm not as flashy as that, and I certainly, for the life of me, cannot pull off the Civic Type R look. I mean, just look at that lah. So at the end of the day, it's the Golf R for me. Perhaps in blue or black, just not white.
To me, this is a bit of a difficult question because I'm now a family man. Pulling this look might be a bit more difficult, and at the same time, I have my Type R fix with my race car. So considering these 2 points, I would actually go for the Golf R.
Yeah, baby!
Fine. I guess that is settled then. The Honda is first, the Golf is second, and the Megane is third. But you know what? We couldn't care less because they're all awesome. So you've been watching Driven, powered by the new Petronas Premix 95 with Pro Drive. Thank you for watching. One more lap, guys.
Harve, what are you doing?
Okay guys, let's review the cars on the track, shall we?
What?
Okay guys, shall we review the cars on the road? Okay guys, shall we review the cars on the road?
Nope.
Guys, let's go review the cars on the road.
Do we have to? Because this car's fantastic on this track here.
Hey, he's not gonna enjoy the ride very much, but...
Ghost? Where?